The cake on the kitchen counter said, "Happy 18th, Lena," in pink buttercream when my father walked in with a manila envelope at 7:42 in the morning and slid it across the table to my mother. He did not look at me. He did not look at the cake. He said, "Margaret, I'd like you to read this before we leave for Lena's brunch." My mother set down her coffee. She opened the envelope. The papers inside were a petition for divorce. The filing date was that morning at 5:30 a.m. The reason listed was irreconcilable differences. The financial disclosure attached showed that he had stopped paying into our joint household account on my 17th birthday, 12 months earlier, to the day. My mother looked up at me. I was standing in the doorway in my pajamas. I was 18 years old, and I understood, for the first time in my life, that my father had been counting. Welcome back to Broken Relations. If this is your first time here, we tell stories about families, boundaries, and the quiet moments that change everything. Hit subscribe, drop a comment, and let's get into it. My father's name is Robert Halverson. He is a contracts attorney. He has spent 41 years drafting language other people sign without reading. He drafts language. He never wastes language. When he says something, he has chosen it. When he files something, he has timed it. The morning of my 18th birthday, he had not woken up and decided. He had been waiting for a calendar to do what he needed it to do. My mother's name is Margaret. She is a high school librarian. She has been a high school librarian for 31 years. The same school I went to from kindergarten through the day I graduated. She arrives at 6:45 every morning. She knows every student's name. She remembers the books they checked out 3 years ago. She is the kind of person who notices that the second period freshman boy with the headphones has not eaten lunch in 4 days, and who quietly leaves a granola bar on his usual carol. My mother and father had been married for 26 years on the morning he handed her the envelope. They had 2 children, my older brother Caleb, who was 22 and finishing college 3 states away, and me. They had a beige, split-level house on a street where everyone knew everyone. They had a Subaru and a Toyota. They had a yellow lab named Bingo, who had a heart murmur, and a stuffed duck he carried around like a baby. I had thought we were a normal family. I want to say that clearly. I had not been a child paying attention to fault lines. I had been a child paying attention to homework and to bingo and to whether my best friend Penelope still liked me after the science fair. My father was quiet. My father read the paper. My father drove me to swim practice on Tuesdays and Thursdays and never said much in the car. I had thought that was a personality. I had not understood it was a strategy. Brunch on my 18th birthday had been planned for 6 weeks. My grandmother was driving up from Pittsburgh. My Aunt Joelle and her husband were coming from across town. Penelope and her mother were coming. The reservation was at 11 o'clock at a restaurant called The Garden Room that my mother had picked because it had a private back patio with strung lights and because they made a French toast my grandmother had loved when she had visited at Christmas. My mother had been planning this brunch since October. She had RSVPs taped to the inside of the kitchen cabinet. She had ordered a corsage for me. She had picked out a card that said 18 and the world is yours. She had written inside it, in her library handwriting, "I have loved you since before you had a name." My father had filed the petition at 5:30 that morning. He had stopped on his way home at the bagel shop on Grove. He had brought home a dozen everything bagels and a half-pound of plain cream cheese. The bagels were on the counter when he handed her the envelope. They were still warm. Bingo had been trying to get one off the counter for 10 minutes. My mother read the first page, then the second. Then she set the petition down very carefully, and she looked at my father, and she said, in a voice I had not heard her use before, "Robert, you did this today." My father said, "I wanted Lena to be a legal adult before this happened." My mother said, "It is her birthday." My father said, "I am aware." I was standing in the doorway. I was wearing the pajamas my mother had given me the previous Christmas. They had little snowflakes on them. I had thought they were silly. I had worn them because my mother had wrapped them. My hair was in a high ponytail because I had been about to shower. The cake on the counter said, "Happy 18th, Lena." My grandmother was, at that moment, 90 minutes into a 4-hour drive. My mother stood up from the table. She walked to the counter. She picked up the cake. She walked it to the trash can in the corner of the kitchen. She did not throw it in. She set it gently on top, like she could not bring herself to do anything more violent than that. She turned around. She looked at my father. She said, "You will leave this house in 1 hour. You will take a suitcase. You will not take bingo. You will not take any photo on any wall. You will not take Lena's car keys, which are in your jacket pocket and which you put there last night so you could keep her here this morning. You will leave them on the kitchen table when you go." My father said, "Margaret, that is not how this works." My mother said, "Robert, I have been reading legal documents to teenagers in a library for 31 years. I am very clear on how this works. You filed at 5:30. You served me at 7:42. The hearing will be in 60 days. We will both retain counsel by Monday. Today, however, today is my daughter's 18th birthday, and you will leave this house in 1 hour, or I will call the police and tell them I want a domestic disturbance reported, and you will leave under their direction. Your choice." My father looked at her for a long time. Then he picked up the petition. He picked up his keys. He went upstairs. I heard his footsteps in the bedroom. I heard a closet door. I heard a suitcase being zipped. He came back downstairs 43 minutes later. He set my car keys on the kitchen table. He looked at me for the first time that morning. He said, "Lena, I'm sorry about today." I said nothing. I was 18 years old and my mouth had stopped working. He walked out the front door. He drove away in the Toyota. My mother stood in the kitchen for a moment. Then she walked to the trash can. She picked up the cake. She set it back on the counter. She turned to me. She said, "Lena, your grandmother will be here in 2.5 hours, and we are going to that brunch, and you are going to wear the dress you picked out. Go shower." I went upstairs. I showered. I cried in the shower. I came back down. My mother had cleaned her face and put on lipstick. She had put the petition in a manila folder and the manila folder in the drawer where she kept the warranty for the toaster oven. She had put the bagels in the freezer. She had taken the trash out so I would not have to look at the can. We went to brunch. My grandmother arrived. My aunt arrived. Penelope and her mother arrived. My mother told no one. I told no one. We ate French toast. My grandmother gave me a card with $200 in it and made me promise to spend it on something foolish. Penelope's mother gave a small toast. My mother gave a small toast. She said to Lena, "The world is hers." Her voice did not crack. I do not know how she did it. If you have ever sat at a table and smiled while the person across from you was holding the worst news of your life in her purse, drop a comment. I am asking because I know that table. We came home at 2:30. Bingo was on the couch with the duck. My grandmother stayed 2 more hours. After my grandmother left, my mother sat me down at the kitchen table. She poured me a glass of iced tea. She poured herself one. She said, "Lena, I am going to tell you what I think happened and what I think is going to happen. And I am going to tell you straight because you are 18 and I love you too much to lie to you. Do you want me to tell you?" I said, "Yes." She said, "Your father has been planning this for at least a year. He stopped contributing to our joint household account on your 17th birthday, which means that for the past 12 months, the household has been running entirely on my paycheck and on a savings account I have because I am the kind of woman who has a savings account. He has been moving money. He has been documenting things. He waited for today because of child support. As long as you were a minor, he would have had to pay child support and he would have had to share custody. And the financial calculations would have been very different. He waited. He did not wait for me. He waited for you." I said, "Mom, She said, "Lena, this is not your fault. You are not the reason. You are the calendar. Do you understand the difference?" I did. I did not want to, but I did. She said, "I am going to call a lawyer Monday morning. We are going to fight this in a way that is calm and slow and patient. I do not want you to drop out of college. I do not want you to defer your starting date. You have a scholarship at Bryn Mawr that starts in August, and you are going to take it. Your father will not pay for college. We knew that. I have been saving for college for 19 years. You will be fine. I will be fine. Bingo will be fine. Are you with me?" I said, "I'm with you." She said, "Good. Then go call your brother." I called Caleb. He picked up on the second ring. I told him. He was quiet for almost a full minute. Then he said, "Today." He picked today. I said, "Yeah." Caleb said, "I'm coming home." I said, "Mom said no, you have finals." He said, "I'm coming home." He came home. He drove all night. He arrived Sunday morning with a duffel bag and an expression I had never seen on his face before. He hugged my mother for a long time. He did not say much. Then he sat down at the kitchen table and he asked my mother to tell him everything. And she told him. And he listened the way he listened when he was 8 years old and trying to learn the rules of a card game so that he could win. My mother retained an attorney that Monday morning. Her name was Rima Patel. She was 49, slight, sharp, with reading glasses on a chain, and the kind of office where you could tell she had made every plant in the room thrive. Rima had been recommended by my mother's friend, Iris, who had divorced her own husband 6 years earlier, under circumstances that, my mother said, had been educational. The first meeting lasted 3 hours. My mother brought a leather portfolio. She had spent Saturday afternoon, after I had gone to bed, organizing every household financial document for the past 15 years. Bank statements, tax returns, mortgage documents, insurance policies, the deed to the house, the title to both cars, every credit card statement, every retirement account quarterly. She had photocopied each one. She had labeled them by year. Rima looked through the portfolio for 40 minutes. When she looked up, she said, "Margaret, I have been doing this for 22 years, and I have never had a client walk into the first meeting with a more organized record. We are going to be fine." My mother said, "I am a librarian." Rima laughed. She said, "I should have figured." Rima asked the right questions. She asked about my father's income and his retirement accounts. She asked about the joint household account, the one he had stopped contributing to 12 months ago. She asked who had paid for groceries, the mortgage, utilities, my swim practice fees, Caleb's college tuition in those 12 months. The answer to every question was my mother. Every dollar for an entire year. Rima asked one more question. She said, "Margaret, where do you think the money went?" My mother said, "I think we should find out." Rima said, "I think you're right." I want to pause here for a second. There is a kind of slow understanding that happens when a marriage ends. It does not arrive all at once. It arrives in pieces over weeks. You learn one thing, you think it is the last thing, then you learn another. By the end of 2 months, you understand that you did not know your father at all. You knew the version of him that he had decided to show you. The rest of him had been on a separate ledger. If this is hitting close, drop a comment. I read them. I am asking because I think there is something specific about being the child whose adulthood was the trigger that is not talked about enough. My mother filed her response to the petition the following Monday. Rima also filed a request for emergency financial discovery, asking the court to order my father to disclose all bank accounts, investment accounts, retirement accounts, and any new accounts opened in the past 24 months. The judge granted it. My father's disclosure came back 6 weeks later. It was 31 pages. There were the accounts we expected: the joint checking, the joint savings, the IRA, the 401k, the household account he had stopped funding. There was also a separate checking account at a different bank, opened 19 months earlier in his sole name, into which he had been depositing $2,400 every month for 19 months. Total balance, $46,000. There was an investment account at a brokerage in another state, opened 16 months earlier, also in his sole name. Total balance, $112,000. The seed money for that account, traced through the disclosure, had come from the sale of a small parcel of land my grandfather, my mother's father, had left to my mother in his will. My father had been the one who had handled the sale 4 years ago because my mother had been busy with work and had trusted him to manage it. The proceeds had gone into the joint account. He had quietly transferred them out in 3 increments 18 months ago into the new investment account, There was a payment history to a furnished apartment in a town 20 minutes from ours, beginning 13 months earlier. $1,200 a month. Lease in his name only. There was a payment history to a storage unit in the same town, beginning 14 months earlier. $80 a month. There were credit card statements I had never seen on a card my mother had not known existed that showed regular charges to a jewelry store, 2 restaurants, a hotel chain, and a woman's clothing boutique called Lila's. My mother and Rima sat at our kitchen table and went through the disclosure for an entire Saturday. By 6 o'clock that evening, my mother had assembled a timeline. 22 months ago, my father opened the second checking account. 19 months ago, he began siphoning $2,400 a month from his paycheck before deposit. 18 months ago, he liquidated my mother's inheritance and moved it to a separate brokerage. 14 months ago, he rented a storage unit. 13 months ago, he leased an apartment. 12 months ago, on my 17th birthday, he stopped funding the joint household account. 6 months ago, charges to the jewelry store began. 3 months ago, charges to Lila's, the woman's boutique, began. The morning of my 18th birthday, he filed. My mother looked up from the timeline. She said to Rima, "Lila's is where my friend Catherine works." Rima said, "Catherine, the woman who has been bringing you casseroles since this started?" My mother said, "No, Catherine, from the library board. I have lunch with her every other Wednesday. I have had lunch with her every other Wednesday for 4 years. I had lunch with her 3 days ago." Rima said, "Margaret." My mother said, "Catherine has a sister. The sister works at Lila's. The sister is named Bess. Bess has been telling Catherine for 6 months that she has been seeing a married man whose wife was almost out of his life." Rima said, "Margaret, do you think?" My mother said, "I think I am going to find out, and I think that when I do, I would like to know the answer for my divorce. But I would also like to know it because Catherine has been my friend for 4 years. And if Catherine knew, then Catherine has been a different kind of woman than I thought she was. And I would like to know that too." My mother called Catherine on Sunday afternoon. She did not accuse her. She invited her to coffee on Monday. Catherine came to coffee. My mother told her everything. She told her about the petition, the apartment, the jewelry store, the storage unit, the boutique called Lila's. She did not say Bess's name. She watched Catherine's face the way librarians watch a student returning a book that smells like it has been left in a damp place. Catherine put her cup down. She closed her eyes. She said, "Oh, Margaret." My mother said, "Catherine." Catherine said, "I did not know it was Robert. I swear to you. Bess never said his name. Bess said he was a lawyer. Bess said he was getting divorced. Bess said the wife was, and I am quoting Bess, a librarian who would never see it coming." I told Bess that was a cruel thing to say. I told Bess if it was true, then she should walk away because nobody who described his wife that way was going to be a good husband to anyone. Bess told me I did not understand modern relationships. We had a fight. We had not been speaking for a month. My mother said, "Catherine, the librarian who would never see it coming was me." Catherine started crying. She said, "Margaret, I am so sorry. I would have told you. I did not know. I did not. My mother said, "Catherine, Stop. I believe you. I am asking for one thing. Catherine said, anything. My mother said, I need Bess's full name, and I need the name of the apartment building, and I would like to know how long this has been happening from her side. Catherine took a breath. She told her. Bess was Bess Holloway. The apartment was the Whitney on Brookline Avenue. The relationship, by Bess's own telling to Catherine, had begun 14 months earlier. 1 month before my father had rented the apartment. My mother thanked Catherine. She paid for the coffee. She came home and called Rima. Rima said, Margaret, this is helpful, but adultery is not what we are litigating. We are litigating financial disclosure and equitable division. Bess is, however, a good detail to have in our back pocket. My mother said, Rima, I would like to know one more thing. Rima said, what? My mother said, I would like to know what is in the storage unit. I want to stop here, because here is the thing about my mother that I had not fully understood until that spring. My mother had spent 31 years quietly noticing details that other people missed. That is what librarians do. They notice that book 7 of a series has been checked out and not returned. They notice that a student who used to come to the library every day has stopped coming. They notice the small, slow patterns that everyone else walks past. My mother had been a noticer her whole life. My father had married her without ever truly understanding what that meant. He had thought she was gentle. She was gentle. He had not understood that gentle and observant are not opposites. Rima said the storage unit could be subpoenaed during discovery. We would not be able to access it ourselves, but the discovery request could be filed and the contents would be inventoried under court supervision. The inventory came back 10 days later. The storage unit contained 43 boxes labeled in my father's handwriting. The boxes contained business records from his law firm, personal financial records, a collection of vintage watches my father had been quietly buying for 15 years that my mother had not known existed. Estimated value, $34,000. A set of golf clubs, 3 suits, and 1 small fireproof safe. The safe was opened under court order. The safe contained a notarized document dated 4 years ago. The document was a quitclaim deed. My father had attempted to transfer the parcel of land my grandfather had left my mother, the parcel he had supposedly sold and put the proceeds in the joint account, into a holding entity in his sole name. The document had been drafted but never filed. My grandfather's land had actually been sold 3 years ago, not 4. The proceeds had gone to my father's separate account. The original deed in my mother's name had been kept in this safe. In other words, my father had not just diverted the money from the sale, he had also tried, 4 years ago, to transfer the land itself into his name before selling it. He had not gone through with the filing, but he had drafted the document. He had been thinking about this for at least 4 years. My mother held the deed in her hand at the kitchen table. She looked at Rima. She said, Rima, he started planning this when Lena was 13 years old. Rima said, yes. My mother set the deed down. She put both hands flat on the table. She did not cry. She said, very quietly, I have been making him soup for 13 years while he was planning this. I was in the doorway. I had come down for water. I heard her say it. I went back upstairs. I sat on my bed. I was 18 years old and I was learning a thing about love that I think most people learn slower than this. Some people are inside your house, sleeping in your bed, eating soup you made them, while they are quietly drafting documents to undo you. They do not stop loving you. They never started loving you the way you thought. Love, in their version, was a contract with a termination clause they never told you about. My mother filed an amended response that month. Rima added counterclaims, marital fraud, breach of fiduciary duty regarding the inheritance, dissipation of marital assets, request for an unequal distribution due to the documented pattern of pre-divorce planning. My father's attorney, a man named Donald Pruitt, who I think had worked with my father on contracts before, requested a settlement conference. Rima agreed. The settlement conference happened on a Tuesday in late June. My mother wore a navy dress. Rima wore a charcoal suit. My father wore a gray suit and looked tired. Donald Pruitt wore an expensive suit and a watch I now suspected had come from the storage unit collection. The conference was in a small mediation room at the courthouse with a long table and a pitcher of water and a box of tissues that nobody used. Rima laid out what she called the picture. She walked Pruitt and my father through the timeline, the second account, the siphoned paychecks, the liquidated inheritance, the unfiled quitclaim deed that proved this had been planned for 4 years, the apartment, the storage unit, Bess, the credit cards my mother had not known about, the decision to file on my 18th birthday to the day, 12 months after he had stopped contributing to the household. Rima said, "Mr. Pruitt, what we have here is not a divorce. What we have here is a multi-year financial extraction conducted under cover of a marriage. We are prepared to litigate this in front of a judge. We are also prepared to refer the matter to the State Bar Association regarding Mr. Halverson's professional conduct, given his use of legal instruments to defraud his wife of an inheritance. We are also prepared to refer the matter to the IRS regarding the underreporting of marital income on joint returns, since the second checking account does not appear on any of the tax returns Mr. Halverson signed. Or we can settle today. Margaret has a list." My father had not looked up from the table. Pruitt said, "What's the list?" Rima slid a single sheet of paper across. The list was simple. My mother got the house free and clear. My mother got the joint savings, the joint checking, and her own retirement account untouched. My father kept his 401k. My mother got 100% of the second checking account, the brokerage account, and the value of the watch collection. My mother got reimbursement of the inheritance her father had left her, $187,000 plus interest. My father agreed to pay my mother $2,400 a month for 60 months, the same amount he had been siphoning returned to her for the same length of time he had been siphoning it. My father agreed not to contest. My father agreed to a permanent non-disparagement clause. My mother waived the bar referral and the IRS referral as part of the settlement. Pruitt read the list. He looked at my father. He said, "Robert, can we have a minute?" They left the room. They came back 28 minutes later. My father said, "I'll sign." He signed, my mother signed, Rima signed, Pruitt signed. The notary stamped. It was over by 4:15 that afternoon. We drove home. My mother did not speak in the car. She parked in the driveway. She turned the engine off. She sat for a moment with both hands still on the steering wheel. Then she said, "Lena." I said, "Yeah?" She said, "I want you to remember something." I said, "Okay." She said, "Patience is not the same as weakness. Quiet is not the same as small. Your father thought he was the smart one in this marriage for 26 years because he was the one who used long words and read contracts. He did not understand that I am also smart. He did not understand because I never needed him to know. I am telling you now because you are about to be a woman in a world that will occasionally underestimate you. Let them. And then keep your records." I said, "I will." She said, "Good. Let's go feed Bingo." My father moved into the apartment on Brookline Avenue. He kept the apartment for 7 months. The relationship with Bess Holloway lasted, according to Catherine, who heard it from Bess, 4 months past the divorce. Bess left him in October. She told Catherine he had become different once the legal stress was over. Catherine reported that Bess seemed surprised by this. Catherine, by her own admission, was not surprised. My father moved twice more in the following 2 years. He bought a condo in a development 30 minutes from us. I have been there once. He invited me for Father's Day my freshman year of college. I went because Caleb refused to go, and I did not want my father to be entirely alone on Father's Day. The condo had no photographs in it, not one. Not of Caleb, not of me, not of Bingo, not of any of us. It had a leather couch and a television and an espresso machine and a dining table he never used. He had become, in the space of 18 months, a man who lived in a model home. I did not go back. I started college at Bryn Mawr that August. My mother drove me. We loaded the Subaru with my things. Bingo rode in the back seat with his head on a duffel bag full of my sweaters. My grandmother had sent me a card with another $200. Caleb met us at the dorm. He had taken the train down from his school. He helped us carry the boxes up 4 flights. He hugged me twice. He hugged my mother 3 times. My mother did not cry until she was pulling out of the parking lot. I know because Caleb told me. He drove home with her. He stayed the weekend. He went back Sunday night. My mother called me every day for the first 3 weeks, then every other day, then twice a week. She knew when to back off. Librarians know when to back off. I got into the rhythm of college. I made friends. I cried in my dorm bathroom twice a week for the first 2 months and then stopped. I joined the swim team. I took an introduction to library and information science class because I wanted to understand my mother better. I called her after the first lecture and told her about it. She laughed. She said, "Lena, we are not a profession that needs to be infiltrated. We are an open book." Pun intended. My father wrote me letters that fall, 5 of them. They were all the same letter with different dates. They said, "Lena, I want you to know that none of what happened was about you. I love you very much. I would like to be in your life if you will have me." I read each one once. I did not respond to any of them. I sent him an email in November. The email said, "Dad, I am fine. I am doing well in school. I would prefer if you did not write to me right now. I am not closing the door forever. I am closing it for now. I will reach out when I am ready. Please respect this. Lena. He wrote back 4 hours later. He said, I understand. I will respect this. I love you. He stopped writing. I want to give him credit for that. Whatever else he did, he respected the boundary I drew. Caleb did not speak to him for 3 years. Caleb thawed eventually. Caleb has lunch with him twice a year now. Caleb tells me about it. Caleb says my father is small. Caleb means it the way you mean it about a man who used to seem larger and who has, in his diminishment, become someone who is hard to be angry at. I am still working on that. My mother. My mother thrived. I want to be very specific about that word. She did not just recover. She thrived. She kept the library job for 2 more years and then took a position as the head of the reference department at a regional library system, which was the job she had wanted for 20 years and had been told several times that she was too quiet for. She bought new bedroom furniture. She painted the kitchen yellow. She took up watercolors. She joined a book club that, as far as I can tell, is mostly an excuse for 6 women to drink wine and complain about their husbands or their ex-husbands. Iris is in the club. Catherine is in the club. They had a very direct conversation early on about Bess. They have remained friends. I think this speaks well of both of them. My mother started seeing a man named Peter when I was 21. Peter is a retired structural engineer. He is 67, 2 years older than my mother. He is calm and steady, and he laughs at her jokes. He brings her flowers from his own garden. He likes bingo. Bingo likes him. They are not married. My mother has said several times that she has done the marriage thing once and is not in a hurry to do it again. Peter does not seem in a hurry either. They have dinner together 5 nights a week at her house or his house. They have separate finances. My mother has a notebook in which she keeps every receipt for everything she has bought for him and everything he has bought for her, and they reconcile once a month over wine. I asked her once if that was overkill. She said, Lena, some women learn the lesson once. I learned it once. I graduated from Bryn Mawr 4 years ago. I went to law school. I am, as of last spring, an attorney. Specifically, I am a family law attorney. Specifically, I represent women going through divorces in which their husbands have, over a long period of time, quietly moved money. I have a small practice in a city about 90 minutes from where I grew up. My mother helped me set up the office. She organized my files. She is, to this day, a more efficient organizer of legal documents than I am, and I went to law school. It is humbling, and it is also extremely useful. I want to say something about my work. There are 2 kinds of clients who come to me. The kind who are still in the marriage and have started to suspect, and the kind who have just been served. The first kind is harder. They sit in my office and they tell me the small things they have noticed. The receipt they found in a coat pocket. The new account they cannot account for. The way their husband has been different. They do not yet have evidence. They have a feeling. I tell them what my mother taught me. Patience is not weakness. Quiet is not small. Make a list. Make a copy. Open your own account. Find your own attorney. Do not confront. Document. Wait until you have what you need, and then move. The second kind is easier in some ways and harder in others. They have already been served. The shock is on them. I sit with them. I get them water. I get them tissues. I tell them what my mother said to me at the kitchen table the day my father left. You are not the reason. You are the calendar. I tell them their job is not to react. Their job is to organize. We start with the documents. I think about my mother every time I take a new client. I think about how she stood in the kitchen with a cake in her hands and put it back on the counter. I think about how she went to brunch and gave a toast. I think about how she organized 15 years of documents in 24 hours. I think about how she sat across from my father at the settlement conference and let Rima do the talking. And at no point did she give him the satisfaction of seeing her cry, or seeing her angry, or seeing her surprised. She had not been surprised. She had been 31 years a librarian. The surprise had ended 2 months earlier when she opened the envelope. If you have a mother like mine, tell her. Tell her you noticed how she handled it. Tell her you noticed her quiet. Tell her you saw the work she did to keep your life from breaking. Last fall, on the 5th anniversary of my 18th birthday, my mother had me and Caleb and Peter and my grandmother over for dinner. My grandmother is 86 and still drives. She had brought a chocolate cake from a bakery in Pittsburgh. We ate roast chicken and roasted vegetables and my mother's homemade rolls. Bingo had passed 2 years earlier. My mother had a new dog named Marigold, who was a small mutt from the shelter and who liked to sleep on Peter's feet under the table. After dinner, my mother brought out the cake. She lit one candle in the middle. She said, "Lena, I never got to give you a real birthday 5 years ago. I am giving you one tonight. Make a wish." I looked at her. I looked at Caleb. I looked at Peter. I looked at my grandmother. I looked at Marigold. I made the wish. I blew out the candle. I will not tell you what I wished for, but I will tell you it was not about my father. I had stopped wishing about my father a long time before that. The wish was about my mother. It was about how she had built, brick by quiet brick, a life so much better than the one she had been quietly stolen from. The wish was that she would have it for a long time. So far she does, so far we all do. I want to end with this. There is a kind of father who waits for a calendar. There is a kind of mother who is already prepared. And there is a kind of daughter who learns at 18 that her birthday was a deadline on someone else's spreadsheet and who has to decide that morning and every morning after whether that fact is going to define her or whether she is going to define it. I defined it. My mother taught me how, and now I sit in an office 90 minutes from where I grew up, and I help other women do the same. They walk in shaking. They walk out with a list. If this story stayed with you, drop a comment. Tell me whether you have ever been the calendar in someone else's plan. Tell me whether your mother taught you something quiet that turned out to be a weapon. Tell me her name. If you know someone who needs this story, a daughter, a mother, anyone who has been served on a day that was supposed to be hers, share this video with them. There are more stories like this on this channel. The link is in the description. Thank you for listening. The cake is on the counter. The candle is out. My mother is laughing in the next room. And so am I. I mean that.